Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Prasar Bharati. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Syrian forces beef up security after reports of mass killing in coastal region. Britain-based Syrian observatory says civilian death toll from violence crosses 1,000 mark since Thursday. Heavy rains in Argentina's port city of Bahia Blanca caused substantial flooding, 13 dead in deluge, hundreds evacuated from their homes. India and Mauritius to unveil a range of measures to enhance maritime security, defense and scientific cooperation during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Mauritius on March 11 to 12. And in sports, India and New Zealand set to lock horns in Champions Trophy 2025 final at the Dubai International Stadium. Syrian security forces deployed heavily in the Alawite heartland on the Mediterranean coast on Saturday after a war monitor reported that government and allied forces killed more than 1,000 people. Residents of the region continue to report killings of civilians after deadly clashes broke out on Thursday between Syria's new authorities and gunmen loyal to toppled President Bashar al-Assad, himself an Alawite. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the casualties included 745 civilians, 125 members of the Syrian security forces and 148 fighters loyal to Assad. Security forces on Saturday said they had regained control of much of the areas in Tartus and Latakia governorates. A defense ministry source said that all roads leading to coast had been blocked to stop violations and help return calm, with security forces deploying in streets of coastal cities. Meanwhile, France on Saturday condemned violence in Syria targeting civilians because of their faith and prisoners. A French foreign ministry statement called on Syria's new authorities to ensure that independent investigations can shed light on these crimes and that the perpetrators are sentenced. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported that 745 Alawite civilians were killed in Syria by security forces and allied groups. The Alawites are a religious minority to which toppled President Bashar al-Assad belongs. The wave of violence targeting them follows a rebel coalition led by Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham seizing power in December. After its victory, HTS had vowed to protect Syria's religious and ethnic minorities. At least 13 people were killed and more than 1,000 evacuated in the Argentine port city of Bahia Blanca as torrential rains flooded homes and hospitals, destroyed roads and forced officials to cut power. The mayor's office said more casualties were possible in this city of 350,000 residents located 600 kilometers southwest of the capital Buenos Aires. According to a security minister for Buenos Aires province, 8 hours of non-stop rain left the city of 350,000 people largely underwater and forced authorities to evacuate the Jose Peña hospital as the city received more than 400 millimeters of rain in just hours, equivalent to what it normally gets in a year. Minister also said that the biggest storm in Bahia Blanca was in 1930 with 175 millimeters. Moving on, Israel and Hamas signaled on Saturday that they were preparing for the next phase of ceasefire negotiations. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office on Saturday said that Israel will send a delegation to Doha on Monday in an effort to advance negotiations on the fragile ceasefire in Gaza. Meanwhile, Hamas said there were positive indicators for the start of the ceasefire's second phase talks. Hamas spokesperson Abdel Latif Al-Qanwa said in a statement that efforts of the Egyptian and Qatari mediators are ongoing to complete the implementation of the ceasefire agreement. The first phase of the Gaza ceasefire ended on March 1st after 6 weeks of relative calm that included exchanges of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners. While Israel has said it wants to extend the first phase until mid-April, Hamas has insisted on a transition to the second phase, which should lead to a permanent end to the conflict. Hundreds of Israelis held a rally in Tel Aviv on Saturday and urged the government to fully implement the Gaza ceasefire deal. Family members and relatives of hostages still held in Gaza rallied in Tel Aviv on Saturday evening, joining hundreds who took to the streets urging Netanyahu to implement the remaining parts of the Gaza ceasefire deal. This comes a day after a group of 56 captives freed from Gaza also urged Netanyahu to fully implement the ceasefire deal. Of the 251 hostages taken by Hamas during the 2023 attack on Israel, 58 remain in Gaza, including 34 the Israeli military has said are dead. At least 14 people have lost their lives in the latest round of Russian strikes with no end to the conflict in sight. The overnight Russian missile and drone attack on Ukraine's eastern city of Dobropilya and a settlement in Kharkiv region also left 37 wounded, including 5 children. The strike also caused infrastructural damage affecting 8 multi-story buildings and 30 vehicles. Meanwhile, a separate Russian attack left 3 dead and 7 wounded on the Kharkiv region in the northeast. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed ongoing discussions with US President Trump's team and aid support from European nations.
The most intensive work with President Trump's team at various levels have been ongoing all day. Many calls. The focus is clear. Peace as soon as possible. Security as reliably as possible. Ukraine is committed to being as constructive as possible. This week, we have significantly increased support in Europe, both at the EU level and from individual countries. Norway has made a particularly strong decision to finance our resilience. The announced level of aid for this year has been increased to $7.7 billion, with the majority directed towards the production of weapons in Ukraine. France will accelerate its security assistance. The Netherlands is ready to invest €700 million in drone production. Our Baltic friends have made new decisions regarding support. There are also solid security agreements with EU President Costa and European Commission President von der Leyen. We are preparing for a meeting at the level of Chief of General Staff in France.
US President Donald Trump, in his second stint at the White House, has abandoned the free trade policies the United States pursued for decades after the Second World War. He argues that open trade cost America millions of factory jobs and that tariffs are the path to national prosperity. But what this has triggered is tit-for-tat tariffs that dampened world trade.
I spoke to the President of Mexico, wonderful woman, today.
Trump this week imposed sweeping 25% tariffs on key trade partners, Canada and Mexico, before offering temporary relief to manufacturers. But with more levies kicking in next week, the respite may be fleeting. But a new front to this trade war was added by China on Saturday, largely driven by US President Donald Trump's announcement of tariffs. China on Saturday announced tariffs on over $2.6 billion worth of Canadian agricultural and food products, retaliating against levies Ottawa introduced in October last year. Scheduled to take effect on March 20th, China will apply a 100% tariff to just over $1 billion of Canadian rapeseed oil cakes and pea imports, and a 25% duty on $1.6 billion worth of Canadian aquatic products and pork. The levies match the 100% and 25% import duties Canada slapped on China-made electric vehicles and steel and aluminium products just over 4 months ago. Analysts feel the timing of such retaliatory tariffs may serve as a warning shot. By striking now, China reminds Canada of the cost of aligning too closely with the American trade policy. Meanwhile, residents of Toronto reacted to US President Donald Trump's decision to temporarily pause tariffs on certain imports from Canada.
A bit confused. Everything is going on Trump's whims, and he's completely unstable, and I think he enjoys the attention.
Now people really need to watch their dollars and tighten their belts and be more conscious about where your dollars go. I mean, a lot of people have been on that bandwagon of buy local, and I don't think everyone really understood. And now it is even more meaningful and tangible than ever before. Keep your dollars at home.
Horrible. Yeah, it's tumultuous. Ruined our relationship with the U.S. I don't think anything will improve until he's gone. And the entire Republican Party. They're toxic.
US companies faced a series of duties starting Monday, with Trump doubling an additional levy on Chinese goods before allowing 25% tariffs on Canadian and Mexican imports to take effect Tuesday. Trump's 25% tariffs across steel and aluminium imports are due to take effect next Wednesday. Further, Brazil and the United States are engaged in talks on import tariffs announced by President Donald Trump just days before they are due to take effect. Further, Trump didn't spare even Russia and said he was strongly considering imposing sweeping sanctions, including ones on banking and tariffs on Russia, until a ceasefire and peace agreement is reached with Ukraine. Certainly, what the American president has done is inject a disorienting volatility into the world economy, leaving it off balance as people wonder what will he do next. Bureau Report, DD India.
Members of Greenland's main political parties took part in a televised debate in Nuuk on Saturday ahead of the March 11 election. Candidates and members of the parties, including Prime Minister Mute Agede, discussed major issues in front of the public, in which independence has taken center stage after renewed US interest in the island. A candidate with Nalarak, Kuno Fanker, said that his party wanted a proper process towards the real independence, while Liv Aurora Jansen, who is running for parliament with Inuit Atakati Git, said that the economy was a key issue in the election.
We want to have the sovereignty of Greenland. We are fully aware that we can't reach utopia. We need to have partners in that sense. So we want sovereignty of our country and own our country in a proper process towards the real independence.
It's very important because of the crisis between Greenland, Denmark and the United States, and the United States and the world. Everything has been turned upside down. Economy is very, very important here in Greenland, because without economy you don't have independence. We have to get more businesses started up, and we have to collaborate with other companies and other countries so we can have mining started. Because without economy we don't have any social security, we don't have any hospital that can take care of us. And we are only about 57,000 people here in Greenland.
Meanwhile, another candidate for the Greenland Parliament, Nivi Rosing from Inuit Atakati Git Party, also participated in the televised debate.
We want better welfare, always people first, and then after, our goal is independence. But we need to also make sure that we have to establish a system before that.
California opened a contemporary art biennial Desert X in the desert of the Coachella Valley on the outskirts of Palm Springs. The desert features works of art including a ribbon of white concrete reflecting sunlight, shimmering clouds and marble boulders resisting the California desert wind. Vietnam will soon grant visa exemptions to citizens of 12 countries starting this March 15. Germany, France, Italy and United Kingdom are a few countries into this list. These citizens can enter Vietnam and stay for up to 45 days without a visa, regardless of their passport type or purpose of entry, provided they meet Vietnam's entry requirements. Sri Lanka has launched a massive search operation to find an injured tusker backed by drones and special forces. The tusker, reportedly named Sumedha, is believed to sustain injuries after colliding with a speeding truck, losing one of its tusks in the accident. The elephant was also reported to have been very popular among local and foreign tourists. Well, the popular Netflix show With Love, Meghans, is soon expected to come up with its second season. The Duchess of Sussex's lifestyle show has decidedly mixed reviews online and in the press. However, Netflix said that the inspiring show will return for a second season this autumn, with filming already completed on the new episodes. The 8-part Netflix series sees Meghan share cooking, gardening and hosting tips with viewers from her California estate. And still to come on this edition of DD Live. Iran's supreme leader accuses US of trying to bully Tehran into peace negotiations. Race is underway to replace Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau as Liberal Party to choose new leader on Sunday. The Khelo India Winter Games 2025 to kick off from Sunday. Stay tuned for more details.
Welcome to Kumarakom, Kerala, God's own country.
You're watching DD Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has lashed out at the US, accusing it of bullying tactics after President Donald Trump revealed he would send a letter proposing nuclear deal negotiations. In a speech in Tehran, Khamenei claimed that the true intentions of Washington's offer is domination and not finding solutions. Essentially, Khamenei believes that US aims to exert control over Iran rather than genuinely resolve issues. Despite showing willingness to negotiate with Tehran, Trump has revived the maximum pressure campaign aimed at isolating Iran economically and reducing its oil exports to zero. This move marks a return to the strategy employed during his first term in the White House.
Some bullying governments insist on negotiation, but their negotiation is not aimed at resolving issues. It's for domination. Their approach is, let's negotiate so that we can impose whatever we want on the other side, sitting across the table. If they accept, great. If they don't, we will stir up a fuss, saying they distanced themselves from the negotiation table and walked away from the talks.
Canada's Liberal Party will announce its leader in Ottawa on Sunday to replace Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. 4 candidates qualified to run in the Liberal leadership race, but only 2 are seen as viable contenders. 2 names doing round among frontrunners include Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney.
The upcoming Canadian federal election is shaping up to be a pivotal moment in the country's political landscape. With Justin Trudeau stepping down as Prime Minister earlier this year, the Liberal Party is in the midst of selecting a new leader, widely expected to be Mark Carney. The leadership change has injected fresh energy into the Liberals, who are currently trailing the Conservative Party in the polls. Canada's ruling Liberal Party is all set to choose a new leader to replace Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on March 9. Unlike in Australia and Britain, where prime ministers are chosen by legislators and can be removed as and when required, the heads of political parties in Canada are chosen by members in special contests. People who have registered as Liberals can vote. There is no fee to becoming a party member. Canadians and permanent residents are eligible for membership. The party said on January 30 that around 400,000 people had signed up to vote. Canada has a population of around 41 million. Now let's understand how results are calculated. The contest will be a ranked ballot of voters in each of the 343 parliamentary constituencies, also known as ridings. Each riding is allocated 100 points. These are distributed based on the ratio of votes won by a contestant in each riding. The system means a candidate must have broad backing across the country rather than just amassing the largest number of supporters. Voters in each riding rank the candidates in order of preference. If no contestant gets more than 50% of the overall points on the first count, the leadership contestant who received the least points is eliminated. This is where the ranked ballots play a key role. The Liberal Party will redistribute the ballots of the eliminated contestant to the other contenders based on who voters in each riding choose as their second option. This process continues until someone takes more than 50% of the points. Canada's political landscape is diverse, with several parties shaping its democracy. Let's take a look at the main ones. The Liberal Party of Canada, it's known for its centrist and progressive policies. The Liberals have been a dominant force in Canadian politics. They were led by Justin Trudeau until recently. Conservative Party of Canada, positioned on the centre-right, the Conservatives focus on fiscal responsibility and traditional values. Pierre Poilievre is the current leader. New Democratic Party, the left-leaning party advocating for social democracy and progressive reform, led by Jagmeet Singh. Bloc Québécois, the regional party that promises Quebec's interests and sovereignty, led by Yves-François Blanchet. The Green Party of Canada, focused on environmental issues and sustainability, led by Elizabeth May and Jonathan Pedniault. People's Party of Canada, a newer party with a focus on libertarian and populist policies, led by Maxime Bernier. Under Canada's fixed election law, the next national vote must be held by October 20, but could take place much sooner. The new Prime Minister could call an election any time after March 9. An election could also be triggered in late March, when a vote of no confidence in the government is expected in Parliament. If all the opposition parties vote against the Liberals, the government will fall. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a two-day state visit to Mauritius on March 11th and 12th. He will hold bilateral discussions with Prime Minister Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam. PM Modi is the chief guest at the Mauritius National Day celebrations. A contingent of the Indian Navy and the Air Force will be taking part in the Mauritius National Day celebrations.
Invited also as the chief guest for the National Day celebrations of Mauritius, which will take place on the 12th of March. The Prime Minister will call on the new President of Mauritius, His Excellency Mr. Dharamveer Gokul, and this will be followed by bilateral meetings with Prime Minister Ramgoolam. It is expected that there will be meetings with other political leaders during the visit. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Ramgoolam will together inaugurate a few projects that have been implemented with Indian assistance, and will also witness the signing of several MOUs on cooperation in the field of capacity building, bilateral trade, tackling of cross-border financial crimes, and promoting small and medium enterprises.
And Dubai is buzzing with anticipation as India and New Zealand prepare to face off in the ICC Champions Trophy final on Sunday. Recent encounters between these cricketing powerhouses have set the stage for a compelling showdown. India have entered the final with a strong record, having secured a decisive 44-run victory over New Zealand in the group stage. The two teams also clashed in the 50-over World Cup semi-final in Mumbai in 2023, where India emerged victorious by 70 runs. In the ICC tournament, New Zealand's last ODI victory against India came in the World Cup semi-final in 2019, where India fell short by 18 runs. While India have demonstrated dominance in the recent matches, New Zealand's ability to perform under pressure remains a significant factor. The upcoming final promises to be a high-stake battle. The much-awaited Khelo India Winter Games are set to commence on Sunday in the beautiful town of Gulmarg in Jammu and Kashmir. This year's event is expected to be one of the most exciting, as around 800 athletes, including men and women, will be participating in various competitions across disciplines such as skiing, snowboarding and ice hockey. Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Shri Manoj Sinha, will inaugurate the Games in presence of Union Minister of State for Sports. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.